something that I didn't know, but I kind of like put into practice. And then I think Chase Connolly said it when I was watching one of like his Instagram stories. It was like, yo, you cannot draw and design something at the same time. Those things just don't, they do not work together. Because when you are trying to design something, you're trying to figure out how something is going to fit together. But once you have that design, you set that off to the side, and then you go buck wild with whatever it is that you got to do.
Yeah.
Cause now you have your plan, right? You didn't have a plan before. Like you knew that you was gonna draw a character, but you know what the character is for. But now you got the design, you got your plan. You can put that plan into motion, and that's like I'm trying to get the motions now.
Yep. Yep.
I'm like
Yep.
I
Yep.
kind of I kind of got it, but literally I think that me being the kind of person that I am, and I'm kind of hard headed. I just been like, hey yo, we about to just power through this real quick. But when I separated those two, I was like, this is so much easier.
Yeah.
This is like
Yeah.
night and day.
Dude, AJ taught me to not do three different things at once. Painting, designing, drawing. Like just do one thing at a time. Until you become efficient at it, then maybe you can incorporate other things. But that's really true because he's like, if you're designing, you are designing. You're not coloring. You're not trying to draw. You're not trying to paint. You're trying to design.
Yeah, no, he right though. Like
Yeah, I was like, okay.
you can't just bust that out and be like, hey yo, it's about to be fire. It's like, nah, dog, you have to
Yeah,
slow your roll.
yeah, yeah, dude. It's so important, and breaking it down like that, I think it applies to just life. Like, I think it applies to everything that you do because we tend to overcomplicate everything. Um, I met a guy. I used to work at a bakery, and this dude, he was like, I shouldn't say he was. He looked like he was from the streets. Like, he looked hella shady. He had a bald head. He looked like he sold drugs, but he was on his fucking money, man. Like I was taking over for him. At the time, I was a driver
Mm-hmm.
delivering to these restaurants, and he was just teaching me the ropes. And he would tell me like, there's so much shit happening in the kitchen. You don't want to be doing 10 things at the same time. You just want to do one thing, finish that. Next thing, finish that, rather than trying to juggle all these different things. So I try to apply that just when it comes to art because it's so fucking stressful, man. Like you want to make something that looks good, you want to know that it speaks to people, and the last thing I want to do is like stress myself out. So when AJ and when that homie was like, "Yo, you just got to do one thing at a time. Like, what is your fucking objective? Just do it. Take it one thing at a time." Um, important,
Very important. Like
important.
I didn't I didn't put two and two together, but I had been doing like five
Yeah,
different things at once with like one drawing, and I'm like, why is this taking so long? And then I was
yeah,
like, oh, that because I'm literally trying to make this cool on top of designing for the thing that doesn't even exist yet, and at the same time I'm trying to make sure that my gesture and everything else is correct. Like, what? Why am I doing all this?
yeah,
Like, after I heard somebody else say it, I was like, yeah, no,
yeah,
I've been playing on hard mode. Very
yeah,
understandable.
yeah.
Very
And
understandable.
that's how like I think people see artists, like people who don't really draw or design, like they see artists as like this enigma. And I'm like, I can see that, but no, I think it gets to the point where you just do one thing at a time slowly, and over time it just kind of builds on top of each other. Um, because I'm sure you've met people who go, man, you draw so well, I can never be like you,
Oh,
right?
I get that all the time. Oh man, you
All the
know
time.
what? I just wish I could do it. Well, shit, you can shut the hell up and just start right now. And they're like, I
Yeah.
don't want to do that. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah. It's
Like
like,
not to be like trying to like call people out on their laziness or be an asshole or anything like that. But it's like the reason why you aren't where you want to be is because you just haven't done it. And the reason
yeah,
why you probably haven't done it is because you think that it's hard. But the truth is like it doesn't matter what you it really doesn't matter what you draw so long as you keep drawing. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
that's like the
drawing.
hardest thing to like tell people because it's not really what they want to hear because what they want to hear is like, oh well, if you study this, that, and the other, and minus it's like minus the study because nobody wants to study, but you have to study because you have to look at things. So if you just tell them like, hey yo, but if you just go over there, you stare at this lady's butt cheeks, and then you go home, you memorize those butt cheeks, and then you draw those butt cheeks, then they'll be like, oh yeah, no, I could do that. I
I
could
could
do
do
that. You're
spreadsheets.
like, yeah, well that's What do you think I do all the time, man?
Yeah.
I'm looking at stuff. I'm trying to remember the stuff that I looked at so I can draw the stuff that I was looking at. It's like you just doing that, but you doing that in a bunch of quick motions, essentially.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
that's and it's funny too because like for most of my life, most of my adult life anyway, it's not like I actively use reference because I don't use reference in the way that most people I think use reference. For me, it's more or less like okay, this is what I'm aiming for, and while I'm drawing, I'm never looking at it, but I'm like okay, let me go back. What was that guy doing that I was like, all right, let me copy that and do that, right? And that's not something that a lot of people do. And then when I went back and I was like drawing, I was actually doing studies. I was like, damn, this is easy, man. What the shit? Like, yo,
Yeah.
you mean to tell me that I don't have to come up with these weird ass shapes for this nigga's face? They're just there. They're on his face. I don't have to figure out the distance between his eyes or anything like that to make him look weird or anything. Like, it's just there. I can just, I just copy that. Oh, baby. Oh man, I'm like speeding through these things. And I'm like, damn. I didn't know I was this. My likeness is still bad though. I'm very bad at that, but that's mostly because I just don't care to. But it's just so much easier when you got a reference, man. Like if you can get that pose for that hand, man, go on ahead, do you. I understand. I
Yeah.
got you, baby. You know
I
I
think
mm.
it's essentially like what it is
It's freeing up that
your
mental space.
huh?
It's really freeing up that mental space. Like you don't have to think about that stuff. You can just
Yeah.
go.
And that's the problem, right? Like what you were doing before is you were trying to think, and so you're exercising that part of your brain, and it starts to make those connections versus somebody who doesn't think. So people who's really relying on reference, they can't do what you do or do what some of the or a lot of artists who can just draw from kind of memory. It's because they've never drawn from memory because they never had to exercise that part. And people who just do reference, like they can't do anything without the reference.
Mm.
Um, there's a balance. I feel that you got to do both. You got to be able to take the reference, study it, and don't look at it anymore, and then try to replicate it without looking. Try to remember it. Try to draw it in different angles. Try to turn it around, because then you're working out your brain. Like you've been working out your brain well before, like the whole time without using reference.
Yeah, believe me, I know, and sometimes it's just fucking it spooks me because I'm like, what do you mean you don't think like that?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I gotta think like that all the time, man. Like,
Uh,
what you mean you've been on easy street, baby?